Hey guys, welcome to Married With The Mugica. We're so glad you're here. Before we get into today's podcast, I want to give you guys a quick warning in case you typically listen with your kids around or in the car. The nature of today's podcast is a little bit more on the adult end, so you might want to just pop your headphones in or wait until your kids aren't around to listen. It's a great conversation, great content, but the nature is for married people. So just wanted to give you guys that quick little warning. Duty without affection becomes very cold, right? And nobody wants cold sex. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But affection without duty becomes unstable. If we only have sex when I feel like it, then my husband doesn't know what the heck to think, doesn't know. And then you're feeling hurt because he's not pursuing you and he's not initiating. But every time he initiates, you tell him no. And so he's tired of being turned down. And so he stops asking. And then you start feeling like he doesn't want you anymore. So you want him to want you.
That is the cycle.
You want him to want you, but you want to be able to tell him no, but you still want him to want you the next day. Or maybe not that day, but maybe the day after that, maybe.
Yeah.
If I feel like it. That's just like, he's going to stop asking.
Snip, snap, snip, snap. Yeah.
But at the same time, duty without affection becomes cold. And so you want to make sure that you're not just doing it out of duty, right? You want to make sure that you got to kind of do what you got to do to get your head there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, in one of those slides said that culture says desire leads to intimacy. God says intimacy leads to desire.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married With The Mugica podcast. We are so excited that you're here. We are Richard and Hailey Mugica. We have been married for 12 years. We have 4 kids. We run a home-based business and we homeschool, and we are starting a very beginner homestead, learning all the things. And that's about it.
Got all the good stuff.
Got all the good stuff.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yes. How are you doing? Let me ask you, because you always ask me. Mm-hmm. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Uh-huh.
I'm good. We are finishing our chicken coop this week and starting our process of hatching our eggs. So getting them in the incubator.
No eggs are here.
I'm like really distraught. They were supposed to be here yesterday. And I guess with this big storm that's happening in the middle of our country, they're coming from Ohio and they didn't show up. So I emailed the company today and I was like, hey, the eggs didn't show up. Like, are they going to be okay? And they're like, well, they have like a 2-week variable, but I'm thinking our hatch rate will probably go down, which is a bummer. But we'll see how it goes.
Don't lose the hatch rate.
Yeah. But anything exciting in your world? Anything fun?
Oh, man. Let's see. What do we got? Anything exciting? Man, nothing out of the ordinary.
No?
No, nothing out of the ordinary.
No, life's like calmed down a little bit. We're in between sports. So we're like,
I know, we're in between
it's
sports.
Nice. Life feels good.
We're about to start up some football action.
We're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you said the coaches are not getting back to us.
No. But yeah.
No, it's good. No, it's been great.
Been good. So are you ready to take some heat this week?
What kind of heat?
Are you ready for the heat that's coming?
What kind of heat we talking about here?
We're going for it. And you know what? If you're new here and you don't know, we are Bible believing Christians and we're unashamed of that. And so we're not giving you our opinion. We're telling you what the Bible says. And you can take that or leave that. Mixed with our opinion.
Of
course, with our opinion. Of course. Yeah. But our opinion is built off of Scripture, not off of what we wish the Scripture said, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we're just going to get into it today. And we're going to go for it. And
yeah, buddy.
We'll take the heat as it comes if we have to.
That's right.
But that being said, so we had a carousel on Instagram that kind of went viral this week. And the conversation that was happening on this carousel was so interesting. And I thought so worth talking about that we're going to do an entire episode about it.
Yeah.
And this whole...
I'll give him some reference to the what the carousel, the first one was.
Okay.
Yeah. So the title of the carousel was, there's a Bible verse about your sex life. And it says the opposite of what you've been told. Here's the truth. Mm-hmm. And so just to your point, so it was shared over 26,000 times, had over 2,400 comments on it. And so it just really started creating a lot of discussion. There was some mixed discussion in there. And so this is the carousel that we're referencing on this.
And it's so worth talking about because, and people with discernment know this, right? Like people with discernment can hold nuance. But this is a very nuanced topic. Yeah. And so I thought this really deserves its own hour.
Yeah.
Because it's so worth talking about. But the verse that we're talking about that this entire carousel was built off of, and therefore this podcast as well, is 1 Corinthians 7:5.
So are you opposed to doing 7:3-5?
No, I'm not opposed.
Do you have that? Do you have 3?
I only wrote down 7:5, but go ahead.
Okay, let me do.
More is always better.
Yeah, let me just give. Okay, so this is 1 Corinthians 7:3-5. It says the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control.
Very good.
Yeah, that's
it.
Verse. Yeah, that's the verse.
So that's the verse we're going to be building off of.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. And we're going to get to it. So does that mean, babe, that as a partner, you can never say no to sex and you have to, like, what does that mean? Break that down for me.
So what does it mean? I believe what it means is that in order to have a godly marriage, you have to have the perspective that your body, like just what it says, belongs to your husband, and your wife body belongs to, or the wife's body belongs to the husband, and the husband body belongs to the wife. And I think it's obviously there's times where you're not going to be on the same page. You're not going to be into the mood. You're not going to feel it that day. There's going to be life circumstances that happen. But at the end of the day, if you look at marriage from that perspective, it's more of a sacrifice. It's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe not sacrifice, but it's more of a mindset that you bring into the marriage that my body belongs to the spouse. Mm-hmm. And so,
well, biblically we know, right? The two become one. So it's not about me or you anymore. It's the unity in the couple and the marriage.
Yeah.
But as I'm like reading through the comments on this, like some of them are making really good points and are really intriguing, and some of them are really heartbreaking, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But what I'm noticing over and over and over again is I feel like the way that people are looking at sex is so
circumstance driven,
yes, but it's not
shallow.
It's not biblical. It's not they're not looking at it in the way of the gift that God gave us, right? So sex is such a gift to a marriage. And what I'm seeing in these comments over and over again is women that are saying, if I give this to him, then they're somehow losing in the scenario, right?
Yeah.
That they're losing their power. They have this power to say no, and they're going to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And sure, yes, you do. But hey, if someone's giving you a gift on Christmas, right? You don't say, oh no, I don't want that gift, because if I take that gift from you, then now you hold something over me. And right, we don't do that unless this is a very unhealthy person that's giving you the gift, right? But we accept the gift. We get excited when we're about to be given a gift because it's exciting.
That's right.
And so we need to look at sex, instead of looking at it as I'm powerless if I give this away. You need to take it for the gift that it is to your marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the way that people are looking at it has this really strange power dynamic to it that I don't really understand.
Well, it's a worldly dynamic.
Yes, but even like within marriages. Okay, and before we get too far, I want to pause and say, if you're new to us or you've never watched our content before, our content is built and designed for Christian married couples who love being married, who want to stay married, and they want to enjoy the process. They don't want to just get to the end and say they've got there. They want to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So
Our
content is not for people who are abused. If you have sexual abuse in your past, you may need more help than what we're talking about. We're talking about Christian people who are married, who want to stay married, who love each other. Okay, so that's my little preface that I have to give. But that's my rant. But in that context, sex is a gift. Sex is beautiful. And one guy in the comments said, sex is not a gift for a wife to give her husband. It's a gift that God gave to the marriage. Yeah. And I just think that's the most beautiful. Like, that just sums it up in a pretty little bow.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfect.
Well, so like what it makes me think of is, you gave the example of the wife withholding sex from the husband, right? And so it's not just a matter that, you're hurting the husband. It's no, you're hurting the marriage.
You're hurting the marriage. You're maybe stroking your pride a little and stroking your ego a little that you can hold this over him, but you're hurting the marriage.
Yes. And so to my comment earlier where I said, hey, it's a worldly perspective, what I mean by that is I do believe that the world really bases marriage off of, okay, well, I don't feel X, I'm going to withhold sex. You didn't do X, I'm going to withhold sex. You didn't, it's so now you're playing a worldly game and you're disregarding the Bible. And so if you do that over and over, what happens is exactly what the Bible says. What does it say right here? It literally says, so that Satan will not tempt you.
Right. Sex is a protection.
It's a protection in the marriage.
In the marriage, yeah.
And so, or else he wouldn't have said that. And so I think you really have to live your marriage, and the whole sex topic has to be a biblical perspective all the way through, or else just like everything else in your marriage, it falls apart. Yeah. And you're stuck in just a worldly marriage.
Yeah. So. And another thing I was noticing in the comments was a lot of women were coming on this post saying that we were taking that verse out of context. Yeah. Right. That was a very, very common. And man, I found that interesting.
Well, what are you taking out of context?
Okay.
Like the only way you take it out of context is if you believe what he's saying is not really what he's saying. What does he say? He says your body belongs to your husband. How else do you want to interpret that?
Okay. So what women are wanting to do is they're wanting to look at the history and the time in which this was written, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's do that. Paul's writing to the Corinthian church, right?
Yeah.
And Corinth was a very interesting place because it was extremely sexual immoral.
Yeah.
Extremely. Sure. But within the church, they had this extreme, okay, I'm not exactly sure how to say this word, but asceticism, I don't really know. asceticism, which is basically the belief that sex is unspiritual, even in a marriage. So you had couples that were abstaining from sex or withholding sex from each other because they felt like they were more holy if they weren't having sex.
Interesting.
And so that's what Paul's talking to, and that's what he's telling them, which is true.
Yeah.
But I think that we can do that even today.
You feel like you can do what? You feel like you can do what?
I think sometimes, probably more so women, but they can feel like they're more spiritual if they're not having sex. I think because of purity culture, which we've talked about a lot, a lot of women associate sex with shame.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time breaking through that mental barrier of it being a good thing and it being a gift in marriage. So they think if they're abstaining like they were always taught to do, they're better than if they're engaging.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think we're above that, but also, Paul is very, very clearly talking to Christian married couples in the church and encouraging them to have more intimacy. So if I took this verse and I took it to my brother and I told him, hey, you have money and I want you to give it to me, and you have to give it to me because if you don't, you're depriving me, and I didn't agree to this deprivation. And this is what Paul says in 1 Corinthians, you can't deprive me. Now I'm taking that verse out of context because that's not what Paul's talking about. But he is talking to Christian married couples about sex. So we are not taking this out of context at all. And the Bible, while it is very important to look at the history and the time in which it was written, that's valuable information. The Bible is not purely a history book, right? The Bible is living and active, and it is good for teaching and rebuke. And that's true in our lives today also. Yeah. So we can very, very much apply this verse to our current sex lives. This 100%. Is not only a verse for the Corinthian church at the time.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
So I think it's really, really important to remember that sex in marriage is neither sinful nor optional. It is not something that you get to hold over your husband's head. If he's good enough, you'll give it to him. If he does this for me, that's not what sex is for.
Yeah, you don't want to play that game.
No. Because, and also, a lot of women complain about having to mother their husbands, but that act itself is very mothering, right?
Yeah.
If you do this, we'll go get ice cream after dinner. If you do this, I'll give you a treat. Like now you're making yourself his mom. It may be an act that his mom didn't do, but it's still the same reward system. Yeah. Well, treat him like a husband. Treat him like a wife. Like
yes.
This is, you know.
And I've even talked to couples that use sex as a bargaining chip.
100%.
Where it's like, hey, if you do this for me, we'll have sex tonight. And it's like, whoa.
Right.
I don't know about that one. How's that one working out for you?
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, absolutely.
But I do think this can be a little scary for women because physically women are much weaker, right? So we are sexually, we're in a much more vulnerable position.
Yeah.
So I think women kind of maintain this sense of security and this sense of comfort, thinking that they hold the final chip here.
Yeah, of course.
And like consent. That was the big thing that kept coming up. Consent. Of course, consent matters. And no good man wants to have sex with a woman who doesn't want to have sex with him, right? Like, I don't think, and maybe a one-off thing, it happens maybe, but I don't think majority of Christian husbands are going to force their wives into having sex with them.
Yeah, that's not a good man.
That's not a good man.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think that's the
if that's happening, then that's a whole nother conversation. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I think it's important for women to remember that this verse is not one person over another. It's mutual ownership. It's mutual sacrifice. It's a covenant responsibility between the two.
Yeah.
It's not that you have to give it to him whenever he wants. It's mutual.
Yeah. The wife is doing it to satisfy the husband, and the husband is doing it to satisfy the wife.
Yes. And okay.
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in that because I do want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Or, towards the end, because that was a comment that came up a lot also, is what to do if sex isn't satisfying.
Oh.
So I want to talk about that because I think that that's important.
Yeah.
But I want to save that for later and finish this kind of thought we're on right now. But okay, so Paul in that verse, he gives 3 conditions, right? There's mutual consent. You both agree that we're going to put a pause on this for a very brief time.
Yeah.
It's not unilateral. It's not me withholding from you. It's, hey, we've agreed to this.
Yep.
It's not manipulation. It's not punishment. And it's temporary, right? So I think that's, and okay. And when I said at the very beginning that people with discernment can hold nuance, right? So of course, in circumstances like illness, in circumstances like childbirth, like there are situations that you put a pause on sex, obviously. Like this,
Yeah.
I don't even know why that really needs to be said, but like a lot of women were bringing this up, like, oh, but what about this? It's like, okay,
the exception
course.
becomes the rule.
Yeah.
What's that argument called? Is that like a red herring? I can't remember what
okay, I know what you're talking about though, but when people use such a
yes.
So like people do this.
It's a debate tool. It's a
debate tool, but people do this with abortion all the time. You'll notice in the abortion argument. I don't think anybody's going to be shocked to know that we're pro-life, right?
Yeah.
So people, if you have a pro-life conversation with somebody who's pro-choice, they'll say, but what about in rape and incest? And okay, so let's just humor you for a second. And okay, so you'll agree that on this 2% of the time where maybe that's the case, if I will agree that, okay, in that 2% of the time, which I wouldn't agree to this, but let's just for exercise purpose say in that 2% of the time abortion is okay. Are you going to agree with me that the other 98% of the time it's not? Of course they won't. No pro-choice person is going to agree with that. They just want you to give ground. So they're using this extreme situation to get you to agree to their point of view.
Yeah.
And so people do that with this. Well, are you saying that marital rape is okay? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just such a silly.
It's a silly argument.
It's a silly argument. And that's when like the entirety of the Bible matters too, right? Where the Bible is talking about Ephesians 5, where it's talking about sacrificial love, right? Or in 1 Peter 3, where he talks about men live. Okay, I wrote it out so I wouldn't forget because I did forget. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker party and heir in the gracious gift of life. So just because your husband wants sex, is he allowed to disregard the rest of your feeling? Of course not. He has to take into account how you feel and if your body's healing from childbirth. Of course, all of that still matters.
Yeah.
In context with this, but I think women especially like to do some really spiritual gymnastics to get out of this verse, and they don't get to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you really do see sex as a gift, not to give to your husband, but to the marriage as a whole, it's not something you do begrudgingly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The way I interpret that, it's like, okay, let's just say the wife's not in the mood, right? Well, in that circumstance, they are thinking about themselves, which is, I get it. However, what you're saying is like, yeah, but if you just do it, it's good for the marriage.
Right.
And so if you put the marriage above your feelings maybe in the moment, what that's going to produce is a better marriage.
And what I don't
Yeah.
understand in that is like, okay, say your husband's in the mood and the wife is not.
Yeah.
Why is the wife's desire to not have sex more legitimate than the husband's desire to have sex? Like, why is one of those more legitimate than the other?
That's a good question.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so why do women in particular, because it's what I'm noticing in the comments, is it's the women that feel this way. If they don't want to, their husband has to be left kind of hung out to dry, and he just has to deal with it and be okay with it because I don't want to.
Yeah.
But you can't tell those same women, hey, you know what? It'll take 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you'll probably get into it once it starts, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a lot of women have a very responsive desire.
Yeah, that's right.
So it'll take 10, 15 minutes. You're not losing anything
Yeah.
other than a few minutes. Like, but you can't tell women that. Women get so upset if you say that.
Yeah.
And I was cracking up in the comments because every single comment assumed it was you. And I was like,
Wait, I assumed what was me?
that this post was you, and that they were like, oh, well, of course a man would say that. And I'm like, I'm actually a woman. Hi, Hailey here.
That's so funny.
I'm actually the one behind this.
Do you mean your response to the comments? Is that what you mean?
Just the whole vibe of it in general? They're thinking, oh, a man had to write that. I'm like,
yeah.
actually,
I got you.
this is very much my belief here. I
Yeah.
mean, we're in agreement, but I just thought it was funny but like women are very, very hard to tell. And I'm going to be the one to tell you, you can still have sex when you don't feel like it. You can.
Yeah.
You can. And you know what? I'm even
Yeah.
going to tell you should.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And your marriage will be better for it.
And your marriage will be better.
But, okay.
For it. That's right.
But it also comes down to how you're going to look at it.
Yeah.
Because duty without affection becomes very cold, right? And nobody wants cold sex. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But affection without duty becomes unstable. If we only have sex when I feel like it, then my husband doesn't know what the heck to think, doesn't know. And then you're feeling hurt because he's not pursuing you and he's not initiating. But every time he initiates, you tell him no. And so he's tired of being turned down. And so he stops asking. And then you start feeling like he doesn't want you anymore. So you want him to want you.
That is the cycle.
You want him to want you, but you want to be able to tell him no, but you still want him to want you the next day. Or maybe not that day, but maybe the day after that, maybe.
Yeah.
If I feel like it, that's just like,
Yeah.
he's going to stop asking.
Snip, snap, snip, snap. Yeah.
But at
sure.
the same time, duty without affection becomes cold. And so you want to make sure that you're not just doing it out of duty, right? You want to make sure that you got to kind of do what you got to do to get your head there. You know what I mean?
Well, in one of those slides said that culture says desire leads to intimacy. God says intimacy leads to desire. Thoughts?
Culture says that
Desire
leads to intimacy.
God says intimacy leads to desire.
I think that can be really true. I think it could also probably not be true, but I think it can be true.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll just tell you this. There's a lot of things that I do every week that I don't want to do. And what I can tell you, though, is that as soon as I start doing it, I want to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost everything, actually, that I think of. Like, putting together one of these carousels. I'm like, dude, this is going to be a lot of work. I start doing it. I'm like, I'm in the rhythm. I like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the gym. First walk in, I'm like, okay, this is going to be I start working out. I'm like, all right, let's keep doing it.
You never regret a workout you do, right?
Yeah, you doing yard work in the outside. Like, I don't want to do yard work. I start, I'm like, oh, dude, this is great. Like, you get into a rhythm. You start desiring what you're doing, And I can think about that in all areas of life. Now, let's be honest. I desire sex, right? So like that one is not really one for me. However, a lot of categories are. So like, again, I think I think there's a lot of legitimacy in that.
And I don't why is it okay to tell men that, hey, it's your job to provide for the family. It doesn't matter if you like your job or not. You got to go do it and you got to provide. Or it's your job to take the trash out. And it doesn't matter if you want to do it or not. You have to go do it. Like we're able to say those things in so many areas, but how come we can't tell women the same thing?
Yeah. And it's so fascinating. I don't know. I don't know how to put this, but I think men are actually very, very simple creatures, and I think at the core of it, it's like, dude, if all you did is give a man respect and give him sex, that's pretty much
And food.
and food. I mean, food, but besides that, dude, like that's all it is. Like that's all we need, right? Now, there's a lot that goes into that because in order to get respect, you have to give respect. And respect is a big word, right? I mean, you have to earn that in some regard. And then of course, sex is another big word. But it's like those two things pretty much satisfy a man. And I know this because I'm a man. And it's just two things. Within, that encompasses a lot though. I get it.
It encompasses a lot.
But again, it's that simple. And I think, but to your point, once sex is not happening, you're taking away the core thing. It's one of the two cores. And I can't say that, I don't know if that's the same for women. I don't think that's the same scenario.
Well, it seems like
so-
we talk about these a lot, but like those cyclical problems
Yeah.
that like, I don't respect my husband, so I'm going to stop giving him sex. But then you stop giving him sex, so then he stops being loving and So then it's like this problem that goes around and around that somebody has to just stop, and that somebody has to be literally it has to be whoever's listening. I don't care if you're a husband or a wife, whoever is hearing this, it's your responsibility to stop and say, you know what? I don't care if my wife gives me sex or not. I'm going to be loving because that's what God calls me to do. He doesn't say be loving if you're getting enough sex. He says treat your wife with love and care and respect, right?
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Now, women, it can be you too. And if you're saying, I'm not going to give my husband sex because he doesn't help take the trash out, stop and say, I'm going to give myself sacrificially to my husband regardless. And you'd be amazed how much the relationship changes. But somebody has to stop the cycle. Because the cycles don't stop themselves.
And in so many of our posts, we have that. Like somebody has to go first.
Yes, somebody has to stop.
Somebody has to go first. We actually got a great testimonial from somebody.
We did.
On Instagram or email. I don't know. We've gotten a few of them. But the beauty of it was like, I went first. That was the core of it. Like I started changing how I started talking to my husband. I started changing how I approached my husband, how I thought about the situation. And she's like, oh my, and what'd she say? She said, all of a sudden, this leader arose that I didn't even see in him, right?
Yeah.
And it was all because she changed herself. Now, I'm not saying it could happen either way. The husband changes. Whoever goes first, right?
Yeah.
Whoever goes first. But it was amazing to hear that. It was like, oh my gosh, it's how it works, right? And it's so funny because the Bible is the epitome of this. The Bible says, change yourself. Don't try to change everybody. Change, because when you change yourself, you're able to then change other people through your
because we all look at ourselves and we judge ourselves by our intention and everyone else by their result.
By their actions, yeah.
And we have to stop and realize that every single one of us is imperfect and is a sinner. And my husband has complaints about me too. So instead of just sitting here and thinking about all the complaints I have about my husband, I'm going to try to make the complaints he might have about me better. I'm going to try to make me better. That's all you can do, right?
And by gosh, it works.
It does. It really does. Okay, so we talked a lot about the mindset of sex and maybe how to think about it, how to look at it.
Yeah.
Are you ready to jump to our one little tactical thing that I wanted to touch on, or do you have anything else to say?
The one little tactical thing. I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's just jump to the tactical.
Because this was a message that I got a couple of times this week, and that was basically the thought was, sex is not satisfying. Like my husband, I feel like he's just using me to get off. And after he's done, sex is done. And I don't want it all that much because it's not enjoyable for me. Like, what do I do, basically? And that's a really important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times I think that can happen innocently enough, right? Where you have really young kids and your husband initiates and you tell him, you know what, babe, just be quick tonight because I'm really tired. And then that happens again. And then it happens again. And then now your husband thinks that he's doing you a favor by just being fast and being done and getting it over with so you can go to sleep. Right? But you're thinking, hey, dude, like finish the job. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So one, I think that communication here is so, so, so important.
It really is.
And you might have those nights where you're like, just be quick and let me go to bed.
Yeah.
Fine, communicate that. But then unless that is communicated, I think you need to talk beforehand when you're not in the heat of the moment. Talk beforehand and be like, hey, you know what? It's really hard for me to enjoy sex if it's not like going to be satisfying. And so if I tell you like, hey, just get it done, fine. But if I don't say those words, like Vanessa and Xander Marin on Instagram, she's a sex therapist and her husband, and their whole account is about sex. It's actually really good. It's not Christian based, but it's a really good account. But they have a rule that everyone who wants an O gets one. And I think it's really important to communicate that beforehand. Like, hey, unless I tell you, like, hey, I don't really need one tonight, I'm okay, just go ahead and finish. Everyone should expect to get a no.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's really important.
Well, the funny part about this story is that you had this conversation with
We
me.
have had this conversation.
Yeah. You told me this.
And that's what I told this particular woman who I was trying to do, because we had gotten into that cycle of I had young kids and I was exhausted and I was touched out. I just told you a few too many times, like, hey, just be done, you know?
It's such a real thing because sometimes I'm thinking, dude, she doesn't want it, or like she just wants to get it over with. Like I don't know what to. Sometimes you just don't know what to think.
Yeah. So I had we sat down and had this conversation of like, hey, unless I say those words, just assume, but it's amazing, like, because as a husband, you need to know and understand. As a wife, why would you initiate that or engage in that if you know it's not going to be satisfying? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So I think that that's a reasonable expectation. And I think that's a reasonable conversation to have with your spouse.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like that's why you're not into it is because
Yeah.
this isn't happening, just have that conversation beforehand. And obviously not in a way of like, hey, you suck at sex and you need to get better. Right? That's going to be very demoralizing to your husband and not a productive way to have that conversation.
Don't say that.
But just communicate, because I really do believe that it probably is just a case of miscommunication. He probably really does think he's doing a favor. Very few men want to have sex with somebody who's not enjoying it and not into it, right? It's a lot more.
A large
enjoyable.
part of a man's satisfaction is actually watching his wife enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think that has to be communicated. And we've talked about it before. If you need to try out some toys that you guys can use. Okay. And I want to get your opinion on this thing real fast too. But
this thing?
Yes. If you want to explore some toys that you can use together and help the process along, like go on that journey together. That's fun. Do that. But figure out what you have to do to make sure it's satisfying for both partners. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
But I got this question and I wanted your opinion. Are toys, or can toys be considered or looked at like cheating? I thought that was an interesting question.
The answer is yes. However, it's more of a heart. It's like more of a thought process to it. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's yes. And like it, of course, if you're using the toy like by yourself and stuff, and you're getting off on these things by yourself, and therefore your husband gets the scraps or your wife gets the scraps, and that to me that's a dangerous zone. You don't want to go there. However, what we mean by that, which I it's a good thing that you brought this up. What we mean by that is like you use them together in together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was exactly my thought too. So
Yeah. Not like,
Yeah, but if you have a toy and you're like, I'm going to use it by myself and then I don't really need my husband anymore, I think that's wrong.
That's sinful.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
But
for sure,
if it's something
100%.
you can use together as an aid to just help everybody enjoy the process more,
that's actually, I'm glad they brought that question up because I wouldn't have ever considered that.
I wouldn't have either.
But it's a good point. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
That can really change the dynamic of the good that it can bring. That could actually make it not good.
I completely agree. So I thought that was a really interesting question. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about here?
Well, I mean, you had so many good points.
I wanted to try to make sure I hit on all of like the big common comments I was seeing. Do you want to just sum it up for us, or what do you think?
Well, I think you'd probably be best to sum it up. The biggest thing that I felt like this episode that I wanted to just say is that I feel like a lot of what we talked about today is more of just the way you think about sex in your relationship, right? It's not necessarily, have more sex, have less sex. Here's the tactic.
That's not the point.
It's not really the point. The point is how you go about using and thinking and maintaining a great marriage with sex being involved in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, you shouldn't for a second undermine sex because sex is a huge part of marriage. I mean, let's just be honest. It's one of the most desired things in the human race.
Well, and it really is something that really sets marriage apart from other relationships. You can have really close relationships and you can have really close friends and you can be really close to your mom, but there's only one person in the world that you get to have this connection with.
Yeah.
And so it really sets marriage apart. It's so important.
Yeah.
And so if you have a marriage where you're not having sex,
Yeah.
it's not really a marriage. You know what I mean?
And I will say this just from a man's perspective, it's so much easier. And it could be from the woman's perspective too, but like for me as a man, when we have more sex, I feel like I'm able to be a better man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm able to be, I feel at more peace.
And I think
with
you
myself.
feel more respected. You feel more powerful, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like maybe more of a man. That might be the way to describe it. But I just know that me personally, the more sex we have, the better man I feel like I can be. And that's interesting.
That is interesting. And in the same way, I think that the more sex we have, the more feminine, the more cared for I feel.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting.
It is.
It's amazing how God's designed it. It really is.
Yeah.
And so it's like I would just really encourage people to lean into the gift of sex. Like stop treating it like something. I don't know. I don't really understand how people look at it, but lean into the gift of it.
It is a big gift, man. It is a big gift.
And it's not just a gift for your spouse. It's a gift for you.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why it's a gift for you is because you not only does it make you better, but it makes your spouse better. Like, for example, to my last point, if I feel more like a man and I feel more respected and I feel like I can be a better man, who does that help? That helps you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I feel like I can be a better leader and a better, like, I'm only just benefiting you more. You know? And so I do believe that incentives drive a lot of behavior. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. And I would also say, like, so men, I think sometimes can have a tendency to pout, or it's because your wife is giving herself to you, which is super empowering. Yeah.
It is empowering.
So
amen to that.
Yeah. But I would really encourage men, like, don't be the guy that pouts and, like, what is that word that people use a lot? Coerce. Like, don't be that guy. Like, if your wife really does have a headache or she really doesn't feel good, like, take it like a man and, like, make sure you're prioritizing your care for her and not your disappointment. Because it's okay to feel disappointment. Make sure you're prioritizing your care for her. Think, okay, you know. But as a woman, you also have to acknowledge the role that you play in this, where if you're saying no all the time, and if you are just demeaning to your husband and just signaling to him, even if you're not saying it outright, but signaling that he's not all that desirable and he's not all that good at it and you're just not really into it, you're like, also take responsibility for what you're communicating. Because I think vulnerability, especially and that rejection that men feel with initiating and being told no, is very, very hard. And instead of acting hurt because it's hurtful, they might act pouty or sad or whatever. And that's annoying. I get it. As a woman, that's annoying. But it's also his way of communicating to you in his masculine way that doesn't really know how to say, hey, that hurt my feelings, that he's hurt.
Yeah, it is. And it's so true, man. Like, again, if any dude's listening to this, it's like what you said is the biggest truth there is. And what happened? Live went down. And the husband's not going to say it. Like, I'm not going to say it, you know, but I'm going to feel hurt. I'm going to feel like, you know, I'm going to make all these stories up in my head because that's what I start doing. And then the next time I'm just going to assume she's not into it. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want to do it. Like, I don't, you know.
And as women, we all want to be pursued.
And then you want to be pursued.
So you don't want to shut the pursuit down.
Yeah, but you really can.
But you can.
And that's where I think.
And I have, let's be honest.
Well, everybody has. I mean, this is a cycle every marriage goes through, but it's a really painful cycle. And I think, to your point, one of the best things that you did is actually communicate those things to me. You know, like communicate rule-based stuff. Like, you know, everybody that gets a no wants one. Hey, if I don't say this, then I'm not. Like, we just actually did a rule recently, just really to get personal. You basically said, hey, what'd you say? It was good.
It was really good. And I was trying to remember. It was something about like,
if I don't explicitly say no, then just assume that I will have sex or something.
So I was saying, okay, if I'm like really just not in the mood and I just don't have the bandwidth for it tonight, I'll let you know before we get into bed, hey, just so you know, I'm really tired. I'm going straight to bed. Just so you know.
Yes. Yeah.
But if I don't say that.
Yeah.
And you initiate, it is a yes.
It is a yes.
Even if I maybe am feeling that way, but I didn't communicate it. Now I have to just suck it up and do it because I didn't communicate it beforehand.
That's exactly what you said.
And
and that was
rejection
helpful.
is hard.
That was very helpful for me.
And it was helpful for me too, because I know I can tell you beforehand, hey, I'm really just not into it. And you're not going to be mad. You're not going to be pouty. It's just like, okay, she let me know. And okay. But if we get in bed and you try to start something and I never said that, it's happening. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
So it's stuff like that. I mean,
that was a helpful rule for us.
It might sound like a small thing, but it actually makes a huge difference.
And then you're not scared to initiate because I'm going to say no, because you already know, like, hey, our deal is if she didn't tell me beforehand and I initiate, it's a go.
Yeah. That
was
really
very
good.
helpful. I'm glad we just remembered that.
I know. And this is recent, by the way.
This was like within the last month.
Yeah, last month. Yeah.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. Helpful.
Yeah. So
We're all trying to figure it out.
So good. I love the topic of sex.
I know. I could tell.
I do.
You could go all day on this one.
I could. I thought that was really fun. And I just think, man, and I'm reading all these comments and I get it. I hear what you're saying, but I also think you're just looking at sex really wrong. Mm-hmm. And I want
that's the thing.
That's
the mindset.
So that's what I wanted to dedicate this hour to is how are we going to look at sex?
That's great. That's great.
But yeah, that was fun. Thanks, babe.
Thank you. How would you like to leave the audience?
Oh, well, okay. As always, comment, review, comment, subscribe, leave a review. That's how you say it. On all podcasting platforms, follow us on YouTube, hang out over on Instagram, send us a DM, all those fun things you hear every podcaster say. I'll repeat them. And thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Love ya.
See you guys. Bye. Love you.